definitely love my job. I love that I'm able to, solve people's problems. I love that I'm able to, you know, get justice for people. And I think that's why a lot of people want to be lawyers. If you do not love justice, you cannot be a lawyer. It's not possible. What would you be fighting for? You just be fighting for the money, and that gets boring. You get tired of fighting for money. Sometimes you do a job for free, or sometimes you wouldn't charge as much just because you're so passionate about getting justice for this person. And that's what being a lawyer is. You would need to decide what kind of law you want to practice in. Some people want commercial law, but they don't really understand how it works. Some people want to walk on the high street. Some people want to deal with people's problems, but then they also do not know how that works. So it might be best for you to get some experience, maybe in a local firm or in a company as an intern, and find out if you like paperwork where you're not really speaking to people, you're just dealing more with paperwork. Your clientele are very corporate people, and you are maybe dealing with mergers, acquisitions, other company law matters. It just depends what you like. Or maybe you want to work on the high street, but you want to be dealing with commercial law, so you can still do things like buying and selling of properties, which is commercial. And you can be dealing with companies and maybe employment law. There are different things that you can do, but you really need to find out what really makes you want to wake up. For me, I love to be able to solve people's problems and to make them smile. I love that one-to-one kind of connection. If you're an extrovert and you like the show, you want to show people that you're talking and you're flamboyant and loud, yes, that can actually determine where you end up working. But then if you're an introvert and you just like solving people's problems, it might be that you end up dealing with like family law, criminal law, maybe civil litigation to an extent, or immigration law. There are other laws that you can deal with where you're just dealing with people's problems, and maybe you're dealing with probate matters. So there's a lot that goes into it. But yes, I do love my job, and it wakes me up in the morning. The fact that I'm a litigator really makes it spicy and different, because it just means that I can never tell what I would have on my table the very next day. I can never tell what will walk through the door, and that's me. I can get bored quite easily. So I can have a family law client in the morning, and in the afternoon I have a probate client, and then I'm in court the very next day. That just really keeps me going. But when I was dealing just with conveyancing, or when I worked in a corporate company, I wasn't very excited, because it was what we call same old. You knew what you were going to get, so that didn't keep me on my toes. But then I have friends who would never do anything but maybe work in a company where they're dealing with paperwork, maybe contracts, or like friends who deal with conveyancing. They normally do not want anything else but conveyancing. They're just happy to deal with paperwork, buying and selling. You do the searches, when you're completing, when you're exchanging contracts, and that keeps them going. They open up a file, they close a file, that's finished. But then if you like something like immigration, you can never tell when your case will finish. Except they're very straightforward applications. If you're dealing with family law, you can never tell when your case will finish. You kind of like have an idea of when a case will finish, because you know that you will have the different hearings. They're called the directions hearings in family law. In civil litigation, you have like pre-trial hearings. You know that there will be a final hearing. If it's small claims, you know that there might be just the one hearing or two hearings. So you can manage your clients' expectations, which you have to do, because they have to know how long their cases will run for. But sometimes you really don't know how a case is going to go, because a client can come, and this is the usual thing. They tell you, he hit me, he beat me, he took money from me, he didn't give it back to me, and all of that. I always say to people who are training, or people who are just starting, wait for the defense. You kind of like know what's going to happen, when a client comes to you. But then sometimes when you get the defense, you're like, wow. My client hasn't told me everything. They've just told me a part of it, and this other party makes more sense. So you always do your client care letters to the clients. That's after you advise them, you say, I'm going to wait for the defense, I'm going to see what they say, please make sure that you keep telling me you know, what's happening, updating me if anything changes, and please make sure that you continue to tell me the truth. You don't basically say to them, you're lying to me, but then they have a duty to keep telling you the truth. And if the other side comes and they have a different version, it doesn't mean that your client has lied. It just means that you need to find out from your client why it is a different version, and maybe, you know, tell them what prospects of success is in their case. So yes, I do like my job. I don't do it for the money, as it were. The money comes with it. There's a lot of time that goes into it. I do it for the satisfaction I have when I can see my clients smiling and happy that I have solved their problems. I hope that there's some information in this video rather than me just rambling, but I will encourage you to go for an area of law that you like, because people do it for the money, people do it for the fame, people do it for the suits. Even people like to wear nice suits and go to court. People do it because it's a prestigious job. If you don't like your job, you would never do it. So this brings me to the person who asked me what LLM they should go for. So you take care.